In this podcast, we've chosen to chat about a problem that many of us have and have had to live through. We're going to talk about pimples and acne. It's an issue that not only affects your skin, but can have long-term impacts on people with their self-esteem, mental health issues, lack of confidence, and just a general feeling of embarrassment about their acne. It can also be very frustrating to treat, and there are many, many treatments out there. So what we thought we'd do is have a little chat about some of the more natural ways of treating acne. From pimply teenagers, where it's almost seen as a rite of passage, to the monthly breakouts that women have. We also now have to deal with a sort of increasing people getting adult onset acne. So we'll look at some of the causes of that. And in these crazy times, it's the last thing we need to have more stress. So it's not life-threatening, but it can affect your mental health. At Nourish, we always advocate natural rather than pharmaceutical to start off with, and we look at lifestyle and nutritional things that you can do to improve the situation. And although pharmaceutical products have their place, we'll start with natural first. We're going to discuss factors that contribute to pimples or acne in adolescence and provide some generalised guidelines and nutritional things that you can do on reducing outbreaks and improving your skin. Jodie, you're the one that is face-to-face, pun intended, with most of the people that have acne that come in. Who are you seeing and what kind of questions are you being asked?
Yeah, it's a common presentation at Nourish. A variety of people come in store asking how to address skin breakouts. We've all been there at some point. Quite a cross-section of people really. Often concerned parents asking for guidance for their teenage kids, or adolescents that come in for help, or women who are suddenly experiencing unusual outbreaks.
That's a wide variety of people. Is there one single cause that we can blame acne on?
So in young adults, it is often hormonal changes. With males, there is the surge in androgen hormones, which can cause an increase in sebum production. And then compounding that can be this dispersion of sweat. Often with adolescent males, they are actively participating in sports, physical activity, which can promote the production of sweat, adding in the extra sebum production. We can see a recipe for skin outbreaks. Hormone fluctuations around menarche and menstruation can cause issues for females throughout the lifespan. And if hormonal imbalances are not correctly understood or addressed, such as, for example, polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, it can cause skin outbreaks well into adulthood if not correctly diagnosed and treated.
So that seems really quite complex and complicated. So hormones play a very big role in the reasons that people are getting acne?
Potentially, yes. So acne around the chin and jawline may be a sign of androgen excess or hormone imbalance if you're experiencing this type of outbreak pattern in adulthood. This in women can be investigated further to measure androgen excess and other sex hormones such as testosterone to determine possible causes, which may also again be linked to polycystic ovarian syndrome. Blood tests can measure the sex hormones for women to see if this is an issue. It's not definitive. There would be further testing, but it can certainly play a role in that type of outbreak. Further along, pimples around the chin and jawline can also indicate dairy intolerance. So,
yes, what about dairy intolerance? Because that's often cited as you must give up dairy if you have acne. So what is the link between dairy and acne?
Well, in terms of treating someone, I do recommend a dairy elimination for at least a month to see if improvement is noted. And then if there is improvement, we can assume that dairy is an issue. And our ability to digest lactose naturally decreases over time. And additionally, research shows that exogenous hormones found in milk can have potentiating effect on hormones, thus creating the androgen imbalance leading to acne.
I just want to go over that a little bit because I know I was very surprised at how much anabolic steroids or hormones were actually found naturally in milk. So we're always talking about the things that people add to milk and, you know, how bad some of the hormones and antibiotics and things that they add to, but these are things that are actually found naturally because they're designed to increase growth of whatever, you know, a cow or a calf's, you know,
the baby that it's feeding.
The baby that it's feeding. And in humans, you know, that period of rapid growth while a child or while an infant is growing requires a lot of growth hormone and a lot of anabolic hormone to build muscle and to increase the size of that child very early on.
And rapidly.
So with milk and its level of anabolic hormones and things like that in it, surely that is just making things worse if we've already got an overproduction.
Yeah, so really I guess what you're saying is we're adding a bit more fuel to that hormone fire that's already happening during adolescence, but also potentially for inflamed bodies, where we're building on the androgen hormones and the anabolic steroid exogenous hormone to create skin conditions.
Yeah. Wow, that makes it hard to treat, doesn't it? Without eliminating milk as a thing. The other thing we were having this interesting discussion of, because we've actually seen, or you were telling me that you'd seen a lot more mums coming in asking about acne products for their sons who were bulking up. And we kind of talked about what the connection there might have been. And one of the things we looked at was protein powders, wasn't it?
So we do get parents coming in, largely due to the pressure of their impressionable adolescent boys who really want to bulk up at the gym. There's quite a bit of pressure around that for young males. So the parent will come in to support their child looking for a protein powder, and often that is a whey-based protein powder because it is known to build bulk.
So, and that protein powder has a high
anabolic steroid component, hormone aspects from the milk, from the dairy.
Milk. Exactly.
Yep.
So again, you're at, like we were saying, fuel into the fire.
Yes. So I feel like we're really giving milk a bad rap.
I know. Everyone's going to go out there and not drink milk anymore. But why does it cause such a problem?
Well, the lactose essentially. So during infancy, it provides an excellent source of energy at a time for rapid growth and development, which I think we mentioned. However, it does decline at variable rates following weaning to essentially undetectable levels. In approximately 30% of the population, they continue to have lactase activity beyond weaning and into adulthood, but the majority of the population doesn't maintain that digestive enzyme because essentially we're not meant to need it.
Yeah, which is 30% is not much of the population. That means, you know, there's a lot of people out there who would struggle with digesting milk properly, and that will obviously show up in gut issues, but also maybe in acne if your intake is high. One of the things that we did discuss too was different races, I guess, or different cultures where there are some that are quite intolerant to milk.
So the Asian countries tend to be highly intolerant of dairy, and traditionally they don't really have it in their traditional diet either.
Yeah, and who are the people that are most likely to be able to digest milk?
Northern European descent.
It is interesting, isn't it, that we are the only mammal that continues to drink milk beyond infancy, and it's made me rethink now that I know what other things are in milk. My milk intake as well. So that is very interesting. What about other foods? I mean, we've kind of absolutely slaughtered milk, but what else can we throw in?
Other inflammation is strongly linked to skin troubles, and this type of inflammation is caused by trans fats found in fried and baked goods, French fries, chips, crackers and cheese.
I think you've just mentioned all my favourite foods.
Biscuits, and these are commonly the biscuits we find in the supermarket shelf, like your Kingstons and your Monte Carlos. We might not even think that that's a trans fat type food, but it is. And then there's your pastries, common snack foods or common foods that people reach for in their lunch breaks going to the bakery. Basically, they're pro-inflammatory. Also causing inflammation with this is sugar. And sugar, again, we all find in biscuits that we might like with a cup of tea, or often kids will have after school. The
so
sugar.
Really any packaged product you should check that there's no we should all be checking the sugar content, shouldn't we? But we should all be checking the trans fat content as well.
Yeah.
And making sure that it's zero. If it's not zero, step away from the
Depends.
biscuit.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to avoid it because obviously we have naturally occurring sugars in fruit, for example.
Yes.
So sugar that causes a spike in blood glucose levels and therefore insulin can effectively creates a hormone response from the endocrine system.
I can feel us canning milk again, because milk is very pro-inflammatory as well, isn't it?
It's very high in sugar. Lactase is a sugar.
Yes, and the articles that we were reading when we were finding information for this podcast showed how the lactase in sugar shows a spike which is many times greater than what would be expected if it was a regular a different type of carbohydrate. So the effect on insulin is much
significant.
Higher. Yeah,
I think we were both really surprised at the impact that it does have on insulin levels. And again, that is really going to exacerbate the PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome condition, because one of another diagnostic factor for PCOS is high fasting insulin. So you can see that the skin and the insulin and the hormones would be so much aggravated by dairy.
Yes.
But a lot of links there. And
it's also all very interrelated, isn't it? What about the other one that people always talk about is chocolate? Tell me I can have some chocolate.
Yes. So chocolate, your basic, supermarket type chocolate, full of sugar, full of dairy.
Yeah.
Your saving grace may be that we can recommend some good quality chocolates, and those are the ones that are 60 to 80% or higher cacao content. And now we see actually some beautiful quality artisan chocolate, especially down here. We have one notable one that produce high quality cacao bean chocolate. And the beauty of that is that it doesn't have any dairy and often very low sugar. Some of them have no sugar. So you can actually have some chocolate. I'm sorry about the cheese part, but you can have some chocolate. But it also being so rich, you don't need to eat as much. So you could do just 2 squares instead of a whole block.
Which is good for you as well. So what kind of option treatments should we be looking at apart from giving up dairy?
Well, the first thing I recommend for adolescent males is zinc. When we look at dietary intake requirements, males require 14 milligrams of zinc per day as a suggested adequate intake between the ages of 14 to 18 years. To put this in some context, the female requirement during this life stage is 7 milligrams, so it's actually half. And this adequate intake needs to be maintained throughout adulthood. I do also recommend zinc to females, as females tend to go through greater dietary experimentation than males.
Oh, absolutely, because every teenager is either vegetarian or vegan at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, it's common, especially with girls. Commonly, this will include, a vegetarian phase, and zinc foods are found in high concentration in adult animal products such as beef, egg yolk, liver, lamb, and seafood, such as oysters. So zinc deficiency is commonly associated with acne, and males just need more zinc during hormonal changes in adolescence.
So if you were going to give some just very broad guidelines, what are the best foods to try and up your zinc intake if you wanted to do it naturally without taking a supplement?
Oysters are number one. So six
So
oysters.
whose big budget is
Yeah, they're not cheap. You're good fresh oysters. 6 will give you approximately 40 milligrams of zinc.
Wow, and you only need 14 a day, so
14 milligrams, yeah.
so it's only twice a week and you're done.
We're well and truly done. So that doesn't even have to be weekly. Zinc being a mineral will, best stay around in your body for a while. So if you miss one day, it's okay. Weekly, half a dozen oysters would be great. Comparatively, beef rump steak, so approximately 65 to 135 grams.
How much is that if in a cooked, so that people have some idea just how much is 65 grams?
Palm of your hand size, good standard guide for protein intake. A standard serving of protein is about palm size, 65 grams cooked. Then if you're, ramping it up a bit, 135 grams is obviously a large serve.
Yes.
And then you'll get between 5 and 10 milligrams of zinc.
And what about the poor vegetarians and vegans out there? What do they have to eat to get their zinc?
So pumpkin seeds, about 30 grams.
So that's about a, tablespoon?
Yeah, about a tablespoon. Loaded tablespoon will give you 2 milligrams of zinc. So when you're looking at half a dozen oysters or a tablespoon of pumpkin seeds, seeing a massive difference, 2 milligrams, 40 milligrams. So you can see where vegetarians or vegans can easily start to fall short of their zinc needs. Just building on that, zinc is critical for wound healing, which means healing up your pimples.
Yes.
And prevention of scar formation. It can also help balance some of the hormones that can be involved in driving acne and controlling the production of oil in skin.
So definitely something we should make sure we're getting sufficient amounts of.
Absolute priority.
With vegetarians, you were saying that you can have some zinc. How long does it take for a vegetarian to show up a deficiency?
Depends. Clinically, it can take time to really notice the symptoms. It can be quite vague and they may not even experience skin outbreaks, but a clinical sign of zinc deficiency is those white flecks shown in nails. That's clinically deficient. So that's when you really need to go, I need
We're all checking our nails now, aren't we?
Check your nails. Definitely a clinical sign there.
So we've talked about zinc. The other one that's often recommended or to eat more of is vitamin A, Jodie. What is the role of vitamin A in the treatment of zinc acne?
Yes, so vitamin A is a key player also in our skincare. It's associated with acne, psoriasis and eczema. It's a bit of variation there, but clearly you can see it's a skin vitamin. People on low-fat diets can experience deficiency because vitamin A, being a fat-soluble vitamin, needs fat to help with absorption. So vitamin A is found in a range of plant foods. You've got your pre-vitamin A, your carotene form found in pumpkin, carrots and apricots, for example. And then this form of vitamin A needs to be converted into retinol to be biologically active in the body. And then these sources of already readily biologically active is retinol, and that's found in animal products, liver, your cod liver oil, egg yolk. They are the ones that are the retinol form.
So the easiest way, I guess, to remember that is if it's plant-based, it's likely to be carotene, which is the precursor to vitamin A, and if it's animal-based, it will have the actual vitamin A in it. And the other thing is the colour of your vegetables. They talk about eating a rainbow. So vitamin A will be found in your more orange.
That's right.
Red.
Carotene, carrot, and your good old sweet potatoes. So again, I was going to do a comparison on your content, your vitamin A content found in some of those. Egg yolk has carotene 100 micrograms per 100 grams, and retinol 660 micrograms per 100 grams. In comparison, cod liver oil, the retinol is 28,400 per 100 grams.
So that's a lot more. But that's still not going to convince me to take cod liver oil.
If you're looking for something else, I suggest lamb liver. That is a retinol content of 20,600 micrograms per 100 grams. Whereas your carrot and your sweet potato, they just have no retinol at all. You're relying on your carotene to be converted.
The other thing we were saying is that it does require fat to absorb your vitamin A, but we're not advocating that you add extra fat. This is not a license to just go and add extra fat to your diet, because generally if you're eating meat, there will be enough fat within the meat or what you're cooking the meat in, and if you're having the carotene, you'll have it if you have it with avocado or a good fat.
Well, if you're doing roasted sweet potato, it may be roasted in a bit of olive oil or a good quality extra virgin olive oil in salad dressings.
But you're not adding more.
No. So we're already, as you're saying, getting enough of those good quality fats ideally in our diet.
Wow. So vitamin A, just so complex, really. Who knew?
That's right. And I would just add to that that if you've got liver disease or celiac disease or your gallbladder removed, you are going to struggle more to convert carotene into retinol. Again, that's partly fat issues, emulsification of bile, for instance, from your gallbladder, but also your malabsorption issues with celiac disease, for example. So
all of those are special cases where they may need to look at having some modifications to their diet.
Yes.
So we've talked about vitamin A and we've talked about zinc, which are the two main nutritional supplements that we would strongly recommend in treating or as part of your treatment plan with acne. What other kind of lifestyle and situational things can we do to minimise acne and the spread of acne?
Well, we look at a lot of sport and sweat. Even as something as basic as a hat along your hairline, promoting sweat and bacteria.
Yes, making sure that when you finish a workout or whatever, you don't stay in those clothes long term. You have a shower, you use pH balanced soaps and washes so that you're not stripping the oils off the skin, and making sure that you have a gentle skin cleansing routine, because I think we see often people go to the extreme a bit, don't we?
The temptation is high to really scrub your skin, which will cause increased aggravation, potentially still spread bacteria. So you want gentle cleansing products, and to maintain a simple skincare routine. That's a nice, gentle, natural cleanser with a mild exfoliant once or twice a week. And I do recommend, particularly for oily skins, a nice kale and clay face mask once a week to help draw out some of the impurities and balance the skin.
And that's the boys as well.
Anyone with oily skin, definitely, yeah.
Well, I think that probably gives people a good basic understanding of where we come from a point of treating. It feels like we've talked about a lot and we've zigzagged around the place, and because it's a very complex issue and it's not as straightforward as it seems, and there's many factors that have to be taken into account to actually treat.
To get to the bottom of it, essentially. To get to that real root cause. It can be frustrating for people sort of dabbling around the edges of trying this and trying that, but it is really good to...
Well, it's a concerted effort. Like if we're saying you need to go onto dairy-free, plus you need to make sure your zinc and your vitamin A is right. You need to make sure you're doing all the skin cleansing right. There's actually quite a lot involved.
That's right.
I would say that what we can offer is that we are very happy to chat to anyone who wants to know more or feels like they're a bit lost and doesn't really know what direction to go in. They can make an appointment with you if they want to create a comprehensive treatment plan.
Yes.
Where you will go through their diet and even probably give them some suggestions for meals and
Definitely,
snacks and things
also possibly blood tests to check out the sex hormones. Yeah.
Yes, to find out whether that. One of the things we haven't really even touched on is the pharmaceutical side of treating acne. We mentioned it at the start, but it is something that we don't jump into. It's got its definite role, and what we would like to do is, if you need to add it into the suggestions that we have, and I'm thinking that we might end up having to do a part 2 of acne because this took way longer than we thought, didn't it, really? And so following our philosophy, we'd say if you've got acne, start here, start with the suggestions that we've made. If you'd like to know more about it, or if you would like to give us some comments and suggestions, then feel free. Always open to suggestions. Hope you enjoyed the chat. I certainly learnt a lot today.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.